Coming up on Ladies First, stating his case, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend is striking back at the Louisville Police Department. Find out what he's requesting needs to be done.
In Black Girl Magic, history was made yesterday in New Jersey as the first black woman was sworn into the state Supreme Court. We are going to discuss this and more right here on Ladies First.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ladies First on BNC. It is Wednesday, September 2nd. Happy Hump Day. I'm Laverne McGee.
And I'm Brittany Jones, filling in for Jane Marks today. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ladies First.
Well, welcome so much, Brittany. It's so awesome to have you. We know that Jane will be back, but we're happy to see you filling in. So enjoy the ride because we've got a lot of action-packed info for people, Brittany.
Oh, yes. Excited to be alongside of you, Laverne.
Awesome. Well, let's get to the news. BREONNA and LPD for several claims such as false arrest and imprisonment. What a lot of twists and turns in this case. So many people fighting for justice for Breonna Taylor, her boyfriend, of course, trying to clear his name and try to get his voice heard. This case is so unusual. There's so many layers to it, Brittany. It's really, really something that is exposing a lot of how the system works and the differences between how black people and other people are treated.
Well, Laverne, and I got to say, we saw this coming because so many people have been angry, upset. Of course, her family is still hurting, mourning the loss of her, and they definitely want to make sure that justice is served in some type of way. And even her boyfriend, we saw that, we know that lawsuits probably were going to come down the pipeline because there aren't any arrests at this point. So they're trying to find a way to make sure that they still seek some type of justice in her name. We've seen people on social media who have talked a lot about, getting justice for her from the post every day. There's not a day that I log on to social media on Instagram, Facebook, and there's a hashtag always talking about Breonna Taylor. So many people have wanted to get justice for her, and they're upset that the officers weren't arrested in this case. So this is their way of making sure that they kind of get some type of justice.
Yeah, hopefully we will see justice in this case, and it's so highly publicized. Yes. That the people involved in this at the leadership level, they're going to really have to dot all their I's and cross all their T's, Brittany.
Yes, it definitely has to be a strong investigation there. Well, here's some settling news for some folks who have been struggling. The CDC is further protecting people from eviction as the coronavirus pandemic continues. The agency is temporarily halting evictions for some Americans struggling to pay rent due to the pandemic. The move broadens protections already in place. According to the White House, the order will apply to Americans who qualified for direct payments under the CARES Act. CARES covered people earning less than $99,000 a year. In order to receive the expanded eviction protection, a person must prove they've tried to get government assistance for rent. By now, everybody's family has been touched in a way by this. I mean, even my own family, several family members have had COVID-19, and also I lost a loved one to it. So it's one of those things to where it's like this is a difficult time for people just trying to make sure that they keep their mental health in check because we're dealing with a lot. I mean, you mentioned the college campuses that have, the cases right now, thousands of them. And, I think about even my niece who just started college for her first year. And I'm thinking, is she wearing a mask when she's on campus? Is she doing what some of those guidelines have been put out there that they tell us to do? It's a lot of things that just kind of makes you worry. I a lot of times have to pray about things because it kind of makes me a little bit nervous about how things have happened in my family just because of this pandemic. And it's a lot of stress on people right now. I mean, you're just having to deal with life and deal with something that no one has had to deal with before in our lifetime. So I'm definitely looking forward to having a much better year next year, praying for it because you just don't know at this point, Laverne.
You're so right, Brittany, and my condolences to you and your family, for your loss. As we all, feel for you, Brittany, as we're all going through this, and we all know somebody who's going through these things. But here's some positive news for you. A history-making moment in New Jersey. Fabiana Pierre-Louis, the first black woman seated on the New Jersey Supreme Court, was sworn into office yesterday. Pierre-Louis stood beside her husband and sons as she took the oath of office. Governor Phil Murphy nominated her in June. The state Senate unanimously confirmed her last week. At 39 years old, Pierre-Louis is also the youngest person to serve on the court. Pierre-Louis is only the third black justice in the court's history and its youngest current justice by about 2 decades. She turns 40 later this month. She's 40 and fabulous. She's also a Haitian American woman. She speaks fluent Creole. We love this type of woman, Brittany, because Ladies First, when this show was designed, it was all about highlighting amazing women of color like her. She's a perfect example of that. She's 40 years old, heading to 40 years old, but she's just peaking in her life. There was always a time where, it was all about, younger, the younger you were, the better. But, luckily times have changed and we're seeing women who are able to make accomplishments later in life. Not that 40 is later, Brittany, for every, by any means. But, we love this. We love this. And Brittany, I want to know more about you. We didn't get to ask you. Tell us about yourself. I know you're the weekend anchor here, but tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been enjoying myself here at BNC. It's been about 2 months at this point, so I've gotten to know all of my co-workers and really excited to just be working here and getting to tell those black stories that mean so much to people in our communities. There's never been something done like this before, so being able to have this platform and share those stories each and every day definitely makes me excited. I'm a Floridian at heart. I've managed to not move out of Florida, which is kind of funny because for journalists, we tend to end up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. No shade to anybody who lives there, but just saying that, as a person born and raised in Florida, I've never had to leave the state. So that is exciting, and I'm actually excited to be a part of this Black Girl of Magic as well, just as we were talking about Pierre-Louis, who's actually someone that everybody is able to look up to at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Black Girl Magic. That's a great way of describing it. Ladies First was designed, for us to just talk about issues that, we women of color have to deal with. And you and I both know, Brittany, being journalists, yes, we have to, work a little bit harder, and we've got to kind of, push harder to get those jobs that, are so coveted. So it's always great to celebrate other. Well, let's talk some entertainment news now. Tyler Perry has joined an elite group that includes Oprah Winfrey, George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg. Forbes magazine reports that the filmmaker is officially worth $1 billion. That's right, he's worth $1 billion. The newly minted billionaire owns the rights to all 22 of his movies, which have grossed nearly $1 billion to date. Perry also owns more than 1,200 TV episodes, 24 plays, and a 330-acre studio lot in Atlanta. Brittany, we have got to talk about Mr. Tyler Perry. Can we give it up for him? He is a billionaire. Can we, Brittany?
He's getting a round of applause from me here in the studio.
Absolutely. Is this amazing or what?
It is, and definitely, I actually got a chance to see him speak for the first time at NABJ in Detroit a couple years ago. And when I tell you, this man is just amazing. Like, I'm getting chills all over again because hearing his voice with him sharing his story was just absolutely crazy. Just being in a room, and he just lit up all of us journalists and got us fired up to want to just go after whatever it is that we want. And we see he is living proof of we can do anything we want to. I mean, that man struggled, and look where he is now. $1 billion? I want that.
I want that too, girl. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm so excited that you got to hear him speak. I've never been anywhere near him. I would love to be. What I really love about him is, like you said, he's inspiring, and the fact that he's always willing to help other people. He's not one of those haters like, I made it and whatever. He is completely, he's so uplifting. I mean, was that what you felt like when you heard him speaking?
Yes, and it was just like he talked a lot about just his prayer journey and how God has led him to where he is today. And that obviously there have been some huge bumps in the road, but just look at how his determination and everything that he dreamed of has just kind of come true. I mean, being in that room with him, the way they brought him out that day, I can never forget. It was like they showed this story and they showed the reveal of him opening up the studios. And it was just one of those things to where everybody was feeling like this excitement, like we all made it because Tyler Perry has made it. So it still gives me chills to today, Laverne.
That's exciting. Very exciting.
So, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. I mean, he has plenty of things that I'm sure that's coming up. I watch some of his shows on a weekly basis, those new shows that he had come out, which was Sisters, and I think The Oval was another one. My mom loves that show, but I prefer to watch Sisters because it kind of really gets like, you know, me and you, Laverne, some really down-to-earth relationship type of stuff.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, in case you missed it, we haven't stopped hearing about it yet. I'm talking about Brandy and Monica's epic versus battle. It broke the internet and broke a number of records in the process. Monday night's showdown is officially the most watched versus spar ever, with more than 6 million viewers tuning in across Instagram and Apple Music. The battle raised $250,000 for the When We All Vote initiative and resulted in 35,000 clicking a sign-up link to vote in the upcoming U.S. presidential election.
This was a tough one, Brittany, because let's face it, Monica and Brandy, I mean, come on, both of them, you can't choose. They're both gorgeous. They're both talented. You know, they both are so down to earth, which I think I love the most about both of them. And I don't know if you watched that night, but, you know, Kamala Harris made an appearance, which was even cooler.
Yes.
So, yeah, this has been a popular versus battle. And still, I don't think anybody can really say who, you know, who is queen over the other. They're both queens, I think, Brittany.
Yeah, so many people said, call it a draw. They were like, there was no winner because they were both just that excellent. But there were other folks who were like, I think Brandy got it. But I mean, I loved a lot of their hits, like growing up, being able to hear so many of their love songs. They took us back to thinking about like relationships and all those different things. And even Monica mentioned during that a lot of the songs that she wrote was for her children. So it's just interesting for them to tell their backstory and their journey to what brought them to music in the first place. And then just get us all back kind of vibing, if you will. We had the opportunity to just kind of sit back and remember those songs that we used to sing. And I was even at my desk today when I knew we were going to be doing this story saying, oh my gosh, it just took me all the way back.
Well, you know, I think Brandy, you know, I agree. I think Brandy kind of gets more play than Monica. And I really think it's because, you know, Brandy came, people don't probably may not remember, she came from like a whole family of talented people. Her brother's Ray J, her mom was her manager. I mean, she had all those TV shows. Remember, she was, you know, she was Moesha. So we loved her from then. And then she was on the show. Remember, she was on The Game? I believe she was on the BET version because there was like 2 versions of The Game. And she was, you know, a popular character on that show. So I think she just had much more exposure. She was just more, you know, a crossover type of person as opposed to Monica. Monica always kind of, to me, if you ask, you know, 10 people on the street who Brandy is, they would know 9 out of 10 people. Monica, like I said, maybe not as mainstream as Brittany. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I would say
as
basically,
Brandy. I'm calling her Brittany. Brandy.
Everybody pretty much that I know personally kind of like vibe with both of them. Like, she's kind of a known figure to everyone that I connected with. It's just one of those things to where everybody's like, man, when it comes down to hearing those hit songs, you're like, who wins it for me? But I don't know. It just kind of depends on what mood you're in. But they've always had this lovely feud going on that we all have just kind of adored over the years.
We sure have.
Well, still to come, resist the urge. We are going to discuss some tips that will help prevent you from picking up any extra weight while in quarantine. Oh, we need to know that. Ladies first. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Ladies First, everyone. So, have you ever heard of the phrases COVID-19 and Quarantine 15? It refers to people's acknowledgement of weight gain during the pandemic.
And though we all joke about packing on those extra pounds, Laverne, dietitians and doctors have noticed the trend, and they fear that the rate of obesity and its associated chronic health conditions will continue to rise, worsening the already established public health crisis. In America, Jessica Sanchez has more on this story.
Chips, popcorn, ice cream. Many people are finding comfort in binging on reporting.
Brittany, I can truly relate to this. I really have gained weight, and I try, like everyone else, not to reach for the bag of chips, not to reach for the Oreos, all that emergency food that I bought, gone. It's in my belly. And I'm at home now, as we see, so, you know, you're just out of routine, and it's just tempting, you know, you're doing something, and, you know, the kitchen's right there. You can't help but, you know, kind of divert there. So, unfortunately, you know, we've got to really be careful that we take care of ourselves properly and not get into these bad habits. I mean, I don't know, what's it been like for you, Brittany?
I think it's definitely easy to kind of get slumped into that because, like you said, it's like almost like your refrigerator is whispering to you, saying, come get me. Your food is like, hey, you're hungry, and you're not hungry. Like he said in the story, you only need some water. You need something to just kind of trick your mind into thinking that you're eating something or you're staying hydrated will keep you from wanting all those snacks. But it's hard. I mean, it's like you're sitting there and you're wanting to just snack for no reason. Like your mind just tells you, I need to eat something because I have idle time. And we've tried to normalize this, but it is rather difficult. I did find myself working out a lot more, but at the same time, I've been eating a lot more. So I don't know if it's balancing out for me, Laverne.
Wow. Well, you know what? We're all having the same struggle. And I used to go to the gym, and then, of course, all the gyms closed. And I really don't feel comfortable with going back to the gym. I know a lot of people have. My comfort level isn't there. And it's hard to get motivated when you're at home to work out. And I see all these people doing it, and they're in their living rooms, and they're this, and they're that. And I'm just like, how do you just, you know, say, okay, I'm going to go work out now? You really have to have that discipline. So it's really, you know, working on your whole mentality and your whole way of looking at how you schedule your life and whatnot. But it is so important, you know, we have to remind, you know, everyone that you have to kind of keep yourself on track because there's so many distractions and all the things that we hear about and that's going on, but you've got to, you know, find moments in the day just for yourself and say, okay, I'm going to work out now, or I'm going to schedule, even if you have to write down what you're going to eat that day rather than just grabbing stuff. Because I think when you just start grabbing stuff, that's the problem. And that's what I'd been doing. I'd just reach and grab some cookies or grab some chips or whatever's there and start snacking. Yeah, grab everything. That's right. So, you know, it really is tough, but we can do it together, though.
We can do it. We can do it. Grab our bike or grab whatever it is instead of the snacks.
All right, well, still to come, all aboard COVID-19 has had on the tourism sector worldwide. Airports in Colombia reopened yesterday for domestic and international flights after being closed for months due to the coronavirus pandemic. This comes as the country ends its mandatory quarantine, which had been in place since March 23rd. With the end of the quarantine, the government is now pushing self-care as a way to prevent the spread of the virus. This includes social distancing, use of face masks, and proper hand washing, among other hygiene practices. And students are going back to school all across Cuba, with many returning to their classrooms yesterday, but not in the capital city of Havana, where outbreaks of coronavirus still threaten the population. So many places around the world still trying to deal with this. I mean, can you imagine airports just reopening and kids now going back to school as they are here in America? Tourism down also in America, Brittany, not just Spain. Of course, we know that in America, it's one of the #1 tourist destinations in the world. Las Vegas is usually up there. Orlando, Florida for Disney World is up there. And so we're seeing tourism down all over the world. People just, they're nervous about flying. They're nervous about staying in hotels, the cost factor, and also the fact that some of the borders aren't even open, Brittany. So not just the United States facing these difficult, tough decisions of how and when to reopen, but certainly in countries around the world.
Yeah, it's definitely happening all around us. And so many people, you know, like you said, they're afraid to get on the plane, but at the same time, they're like itching to be able to travel again. So hopefully there are so many people that are going to be able to take advantage of being able to travel once again and enter some of those other countries. I know Spain, Barcelona is on my bucket list. I personally want to be able to travel there. I haven't done a lot of traveling, just like the rest of you at home probably. And you, Laverne, haven't been able to do what you would like to do throughout the year. So it's crazy to see how much this has definitely just changed life for so many people, but hopefully at some point people can get back to some normalcy in their lives. Like, I've been to Cuba. Cuba was one of the last places I visited before they actually shut that border off at one point where we weren't able to go over there. So that's a place where it was gorgeous and I enjoyed seeing it. So I'm looking forward to being able to see some of those sites again.
Wow, good for you that you made it to Cuba, because a lot of people, you know, obviously there's been so much political tensions with that country where Americans weren't allowed to travel there, and then they were for a short time and then they changed their mind. So I'm glad you got to go to Cuba. That's awesome. You said Spain. I love Europe. We actually, the other day, Brittany, we did an interview with a travel expert, and she was actually in London, England.
Nice.
And it was so cool. She was talking about being an American traveling there. So it's one of the places right now where Americans can actually travel. So many places, even our own borders, Mexico and Canada, Americans aren't allowed to travel to. So Brittany, you may make it to Spain. If you have to go through England, perhaps you may make it there sooner than you think. It's one of the places, you know, in the world where Americans still can kind of get to. But yeah, it's gonna be a while, I think, before most people want to travel anywhere.
Definitely. Well, still to come, we got something exciting for you, a rising star. When we return, we'll chat with independent filmmaker Patrick Ladonis. You don't want to miss this. That's next on Ladies First. Hey Patrick, how you doing today?
Hey, Brittany, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I see you've been keeping busy looking at all of your stuff.
I have. I heard you talking about my favorite place to visit, which is Barcelona. I love Spain.
Really?
Love it, love it, love it.
Yes.
I go every year. This is the first year I haven't been able to go.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it's on my bucket list. Like, I got a long list, but that's one of the places where I'm like, wow, one day I can't wait to go.
Yeah, love it. So how are you doing? You doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to get through this pandemic like anybody else. Like, it's been nuts. So very interested in hearing your story about how you've been able to work through it and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you.
So we'll make it short and sweet. And okay, in 30 seconds, we're coming back. Are we starting with the VO up, or it goes straight to him? Okay, can they scroll up? Welcome back. Our guest today is no stranger to carving a lane of his own, serving as both creator, executive producer, and actor in his critically acclaimed web series called Scales. His show has massed nearly 100,000 views with more than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And joining us now via Skype is show creator Patrick Ladonis. Thanks for joining us for today.
Thanks for having me, Brittany. How are you?
I am doing well and excited to see you here on Ladies First today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is awesome.
Awesome. Well, Patrick, you're doing it big time, award-winning, executive producing, and acting at the same time as a Black man, something we women value. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. My journey started probably, don't want to date myself too much, but if you've seen a movie called A Time to Kill, then you probably saw me in it, because that's where I first got my sort of big break, was in the Joel Schumacher, John Grisham, A Time to Kill, starring Sandra Bullock, Samuel L. Jackson. That was an awesome experience for me, which of course, at that time, it really brought out the acting film bug in me, which led me to the journey that I'm on today.
Well, your web show series, Scales, is obviously catching folks' attention. We saw that. Tell us about how you've been able to reach that audience and what are people able to pull from that show? We're talking about relationships and growth, and it's about diversity and inclusion. Talk about that.
It is. Scales is, I think it's everyone's guilty pleasure. I know people are watching it, especially in Atlanta. We are in our third season, which is coming out later this year. And it's funny because initially we started the practice for season 3 in March, and we were doing the rehearsals, and then COVID happened. And I was like, oh gosh, are we gonna stop? What do we do? So we put it on pause. I talked to my director and I talked to the cast, and they were still committed. And so I was like, we got to tell this story because it's stories that represent all of us. And for Scales, it's really one of those shows that it's complicated. It's complicated drama, but in a good way. Because to be honest, Brittany, and let's be very honest with each other, everybody has a little bit of drama in their life.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. It's just a little bit. And so you have this complicated character, Remy Howard, that I play, who's he's drawn to complicated people and relationships. And it's really how people balance and focus life and relationships and all the other stuff that comes into it. And that's why I think the show's so relatable.
Definitely.
And it's a very multicultural cast as well.
Definitely exciting there. You may have touched this. You know, you've been able to keep your web series going and writing and producing even more content during this pandemic. How have you gotten it done, and what's been your drive to keep going?
Well, Brittany, I think two things. One, as an independent creative, this is our time to truly pivot, because we're used to working with less. So the largest crew size that we've ever had is about 16. So to comply with, the COVID restrictions, the CDC guidelines, we cut the crew down to about 6. And so that required us to wear multiple hats. So we were able to really social distance when we could. The cast and crew were. At all times during filming, the crew wore the mask. And I actually have a little bit of a training HR background. So we went through some COVID training that was provided to all of the cast and crew prior to filming. And we knew, the passion was there, not just for me as a creator, but the director and the DP and editor and even the actors. Everyone was ready to get back to filming. And so we started filming back in May, and then we filmed again in July. And the big thing that we did do with season 3 is people will see that 65% of the series takes place outside. So season 3, you'll get to see a lot of the cool landmarks and the parks and all that good stuff here in Atlanta, because we wanted to, be in an open space of fresh air. So I think being able to do that and then still give a fresh original content that actually now over 100,000 people and 1,200 subscribers have been able to see, and you got to give the people what they want, and that's what all of us were committed to doing. So I can't wait till people see season 3.
And Patrick, you talk about giving people what they want. You have another show called Spades, which stands for Single People Are Dating Everybody Stupid. That's debuting soon. Tell us all about that.
That is right. And I think everyone, again, it's about how we date. And it's a really cool concept, because we're looking at the Gen Z generation and maybe a little bit of, the Gen Y of how they date. And it's really following one of the supporting characters from Scales named Kim. It's her and 2 of her friends from undergrad. They fictionally went to Clark, and it's them trying to find their way in dating in this new world of Instagram and all other types of social media. And I think it's a true comedy that everyone of all ages will definitely be able to relate to in some form or fashion.
And lastly, you're an inspiration to people. What advice would you give to those who are looking to create a show of their own?
I would say that right now, especially where we've pretty much been on this global recess for about almost 6 months, this is our moment to pivot. So continue to write every single day. And it's so easy now to just pick up your phone and start filming, film your own show or get some friends together or family members. You can film your family members in COVID and bam, you got a hit reality show right there. So don't give up and just practice makes perfect. And I'm a true testament of that.
All great advice there. Patrick Ladonis, thank you so much for joining us here today on Ladies First. We appreciate your time and good luck to you with all of these shows.
Thank you so much.
Well, still to come, more money and no more problems? Up next, how Americans have profited financially while working from home. But what about the impact it has on big businesses? Stay with us. You're watching Ladies First.
As Americans traveled nearly 37 billion miles less in June compared to last year, and that adds up to a savings of about $758 million a day and $90 billion since the pandemic began. On the other side of the coin, there, of course, is working from home is tough on businesses that can benefit from commuters. Of course, people like to stop at 7-Eleven and, they have more clothes to wear, they want to shop and whatnot. So there's also the flip side of that. But right now, Americans are not worried about their cars as much as they usually are because, America is a nation that loves cars. I mean, we were just talking about Europe. Brittany, overseas, when you go to Europe and places like that, they take, the metro, trains, subways, channel, that kind of stuff. So in America, this might be the first time that Americans have not spent as much time on their vehicles.
Yes, definitely. And I know they said that it's had an impact on keeping the pollution down in the air as well. But, you think about since people aren't flying as much, I possibly think about driving to places more. I spent the weekend in Jekyll Island. I put my car on the road, so I may be that one American that's a little bit different, but I just needed to just get out and have some time, away and take a little break. So maybe some people are kind of using that commuting time a little bit to travel just a little bit now. What do you think?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Road trips are pretty popular right now if you've got some time off. And, if you are somebody who likes to travel and do things, you might even rent one of those RVs, because I know they talked about those RV sales are up. That's not for me, because I can't handle that. Brittany, I'm a girly girl. I need a nice hotel. But for those who love that, they say, renting those campers and trailers and all that, they say that's a pretty cool way to travel and have fun.
Definitely. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see the numbers down of people traveling back and forth on the roadways because you face it, if you're working from home, you don't have to drive as much. You're strictly going to the grocery store, and some people are ordering their groceries right to their doorstep. So there are a lot of times, you don't have to go anywhere at this point if you don't need to. You can order pretty much anything you want.
Yeah, and if your car's sitting there, just here's a final tip, Brittany, for people, just to remember to start your car. Some people, they were having so many reports from AAA that people weren't starting their cars, and then when they did, their battery was dead. So if your car's sitting there, make sure you check your battery and start that car.
Definitely. Well, big news for anybody who's planning to go somewhere. Big news for future mommies-to-be or moms who are currently nursing. Walmart is expanding its breastfeeding pods. The retailer announced it was planning to install Mamava lactation suites in more than 100 stores this year. These pods offer freestanding spaces for women breastfeeding or pumping. They are free to use and can be accessed through an app. Walmart says it's the first retailer to install them in a store setting. The company introduced the pods in 3 stores last year. So this is exciting for parents.
I think listen, Brittany, you don't have kids, do you?
No, I don't have kids yet. So I'm excited for the folks who are having children at this time. And, you're a mom, so you know how it feels to have to be walking around the store and dealing with that type of thing. What did you go through?
Yeah, Brittany, I didn't think you were a mom, but I was just checking. Yeah, so I'm a mom. And let me tell you, the amount of invention since I have my daughter, I had it rough, okay? I had it rough. No. I've actually seen one of these pods, and it's great. I mean, the fact that you can have this kind of privacy. when you're a young mom and you have your child and you really don't know what you're doing or whatever, I mean, people can sometimes, question you. So especially if you're in a store, and you have no choice, you have to take your child with you. People are like, why don't you leave your child at home? Well, who am I supposed to leave my child with? I still have to go grocery shopping. So you may be in the store and your child decides that's the time they want to eat. That's the time they want to cry. That's the time they want to, use the bathroom. And it's so hard just in a regular bathroom setting to do certain things. So I think this is awesome. They didn't have this when I had my daughter, but since then there's been so much more compassion for women who have to deal with nursing or to deal with, just even changing diapers, those sorts of things. And, it's tough. And I remember flying on planes and my daughter was like 3 weeks old and I had to fly. I didn't want to fly with her, but I flew with her. And, she was crying and crying, and I was trying so hard to quiet her, and I couldn't. I mean, there's so many things that mothers have to deal with in public. You cannot, have your child and your baby at home forever. You have to go out and function. So any little thing, like something like that, to me, is a huge deal for a mother who needs that little bit of privacy to do what she needs to do and keep it on moving.
Yes, and like you said, when the baby is hungry, they got to eat. And nobody wants to hear the screaming and crying and all of those things. I have plenty of nieces and nephews, so I know. I've watched my sister-in-law have to stop what she's doing and definitely breastfeed. So cheers to Mamava and Walmart for making this step and taking this step so to make sure that they have that privacy. That's going to do it right now, so stay with us on Ladies First. We'll be right back. We got more coming up. Okay, so I think we're going to make you hungry with this one. Today's Ladies First What's for Dinner recipe is a delicious chicken pot pie with bacon and cheddar biscuits. Oh my. The ingredients include, you don't want to miss this, 1/3 cup butter, 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of chicken broth, 1.5 cups of milk, 1.5 teaspoons Creole seasoning. Okay, I like that. Add a little spice. 2 tablespoons butter, 1 large sweet onion diced, 1 package sliced fresh mushrooms, 4 cups shredded cooked chicken, 2 cups frozen cubed hash browns, 1 cup matchstick carrots, 1 cup frozen small sweet peas, 1/3 cup chopped fresh parsley, can't forget that, 1/2 cup of cold butter cut into just in 1/2 inch of cubes, 2 cups self-rising flour, 3/4 cup shredded sharp cheddar cheese, ooey gooey stuff, 1/4 cup finely chopped cooked bacon, 2 tablespoons chopped fresh chives, 1 cup whipping cream, 2 tablespoons butter melted. Okay, Laverne, how does that sound to you?
It sounds good, but not the bacon. I don't do bacon, and I know there's some people that are so ridiculously addicted to bacon and they love bacon and they put bacon on everything, but I don't do bacon. So I like this recipe without the bacon. How about you?
Oh my gosh, everything is good with bacon. Like, there's no way.
We can agree to disagree. Do you want to have the bacon debate?
The bacon debate.
Do you really want to have the bacon debate with me?
I'm hog heaven, sister.
Yeah, I know this. Are you hardcore bacon for real?
Yeah, anything tastes good with bacon. If it's a quesadilla, if it's pizza, you name it. I like some bacon on something. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to taste this. So I hope you at home were listening.
All right, I'm not going to hold that against you, Brittany. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Ladies First, everyone. Well, we've got a couple of final thoughts and notes for you. United Airlines is furloughing 16,370 workers as the pandemic rages. Brittany, you and I have been talking about traveling, and travel is down. We know that the airline industry is just having a really tough time. We've been hearing about Delta and American, now United Airlines. But here's the strange thing. we're mystified by this. The stock market had its best August in 34 years. They're saying FOMO, fear of missing out. People have been buying stocks and wheeling and dealing because they see certain bargains, certain stocks that have gone way down, and then of course seeing other stocks that are going higher and higher every day. So again, you know, despite the fact that the economy is very fragile right now, we're seeing two different stories here, Brittany. One for Wall Street and one for the rest of us. And as well, the other thing that we're told is the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, has told states to prepare for COVID-19 vaccines possibly as soon as November 1st, Brittany. Who knows if that'll happen or not?
Right now, we just don't know. It's a lot of uncertainty, as you mentioned throughout the show, that we're just ready to see some sense of normalcy. We're hoping that things can start to change back a little bit. We don't know what normal is anymore, but we do know at this point that we're adapting and things are starting to pick up for us.
All right, well, Brittany, it's been awesome having you, and that's it for Ladies First. We'll be back tomorrow at 5. Kelly Wright is up next, and I'll be back for BNC Prime News at 7 o'clock. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.